In this video, we're going to continue breaking the big shapes into smaller shapes and seeing what we have so we can make a neat shape. Now this is going to apply, right now I'm working on a watering can. You're not going to be working on a watering can, but this technique should apply to whatever you are working on. Okay, I'm actually going to delete this because I want to just focus on the body of the can, and then we can look at the top of the can, and we're going to look at the handle in a separate video where we talk about some helpful tools. Okay, so we've got this body of the can. Now I'm going to use the direct selection tool to improve upon this. And really what we need first are some more points. So I'm going to drop some points. We probably need like 2 more points. You know what? That's not true. We don't need more points. We need another shape, right? Because we've got this shape, and then what I'm looking at is the bottom here is a separate ellipse. So I'm actually just going to draw another ellipse using the ellipse tool. The shortcut for the ellipse tool is the letter L. So I just drag out an ellipse, and then I hit V to get the selection tool. And now I'm going to just rotate it, and I'm going to reshape this ellipse until it is the right shape that I want it to be. So we're going to just keep rotating it. And also, you don't need to do it this way. You can actually just use the direct selection tool to move the points of the ellipse. I'm just doing it this way so I can preserve the ellipse itself. Once you start using the direct selection tool, things can get a little messed up. Okay, so we've got this shape here. We've got this shape. I'm going to move this up a little bit. Okay, I'm also seeing these little highlights over here, so I want to include those. I'm going to get the pen tool. I'm going to drag out, and then I hit A or V to end the line. I'm using the direct selection tool to add, not the direct selection, the anchor point tool to add a little curve to this. P for pen. I'm adding a minor curve, another minor curve. Another way that we could have done this if we wanted to get exactly the right curve, I'm deleting these, is we can hit the direct selection tool. I'm going to select just this point, and then I'm going to copy it, and I'm going to hit Command or Control V to paste it. Now we have part of that line, and I can chop the line up. So I'm going to hit plus to get the plus sign, and I'm just going to add points over here. And now I'm hitting the direct selection tool. I'm going to choose a point in the middle and delete. I'm going to delete that point, and I'm going to delete that point. And now I just ended up with these 2 lines. They are independent of each other, and they just fit on the shape like that. Okay, other stuff that I'm seeing here are these highlights here. So I'm going to use my pen tool, and I'm going to create a highlight like this. I also see a highlight over here. That's going to be impacted by the spout. Okay. There we go. So these are our can shapes. So I think that the base of the can should probably be black. So I'm going to use the direct selection tool, not the direct selection. I'm going to use the eyedropper tool. You can get it by hitting the letter I or finding it in your toolbox and just finding something black and making it black. These 2 lines are going to be white. They're going to be highlight lines. And this is also going to be black. So we can do it the old-fashioned way over here. Let's take the stroke away. These highlight shapes are going to be white. I for the eyedropper, find something white. V to get the selection tool and click away. Okay, there are a few things that are not working out that I'm seeing here. Okay, the first thing, this straight line is ruining this nice curve, and that's because it's on top when really the spout should be on top of the highlight. So what I'm going to do is select the spout. I'm going to select everything about the spout, and then I'm going to hit Command or Control Shift right bracket, and that moves the spout on top of the shape. Now what I'm really loving about this highlight is that it creates this really nice indication of a curve over there. So look, without this, the spout just blends right into the canister, but with this highlight we end up with a really nice curve there. So that's pretty great. Okay, something else that I'm not loving is that this looks like one shape over here, and we're missing this highlight that we get from this bump over here. And I also am just going to make this a little bit bigger. Now what I'm going to do here is, just like we got these highlight lines by copying part of that line, I'm just going to use the direct selection tool by hitting A. I'm going to select this one point, and then I hit Command or Control C. Let's hit Command or Control V. We got just this part. I don't want a fill, but I do want a white stroke. I'm going to hit V to get it back. And then we see that we have our nice white line. And we just have to place it. We might have to alter it a little bit, depending on what we want it to look like. There we go. I'm going to make this line a little bit thicker. And I'm going to use A to move this point over here. Now I want to talk about the quality of the stroke. Right now, this stroke is uniform. That means it's the same thickness the entire length of the line. And that's true for these as well. Lines can be in different types of profiles. Like they can have different profiles. Right now, they're in uniform. I like to mess around with these just to give it a more organic shape. I tend to have a preference for that one. And now I'm also going to change these lines to have a different profile. I'm going to actually change this to be different. Let's make these like that. There we go. And now we have some nice highlights. Okay, so that's the body of the canister. I'm going to actually take the fill away from the canister because it's obscuring the top of the can. So I'm just going to swap fill and stroke so that way we can still see what we're looking at, but ultimately what we want to focus on now is just going to be this inside. Okay, so part of this project is trying to find details that make the thing look interesting. Like these spout holes are details that can add to the visual interest, but you don't want to have so many details that you end up cluttering the space. So it's just a balance between adding details, adding information like outlines, and just so many things. So you want to balance having the information and the details that make it interesting and legible, but having it be abstract so that way it's more interesting. Okay, so let's get into it. We can start the shape with an ellipse. And now we're just going to resize it. And again, obviously you can use the pen tool when you to make whatever inventive shapes you need. But where it's possible, I definitely advise using these shape tools because they save you time along the way. Okay, now we have this basic canister shape. If we filled this in right now, you'd lose a lot of the details. So we're going to add, we want to have this part be probably either white or black, and then we would want this to be the opposite. I'm going to make this the white part and this the black part, just because I'm seeing that this is shadow and this is being hit by light. So let's start. I'm going to hit Command or Control C to copy, and then Command or Control F to copy it in place. Now we have some modifiers that we can use when we resize things. Shift constrains proportions. So let me just show you on a regular non-relevant shape. So if I use the selection tool and I just freeform change things, you're going to change the proportions. If you hold shift down, you're going to get a similar shape. It's going to be small, but the proportions will be the same. If you hit shift and option or alt on a PC, then you can strain the proportions and it goes inwards towards the center. Okay, let's hit delete. So now for the second on top shape, I'm going to hold shift and option or alt just to get it on the inside. Now it's already going to be more interesting than if we didn't do this. I'm going to let's fill the second one with white. And let's fill the top one with black. We can swap. There we go. And if I fill that in, it's not the same as the original picture. I think it's missing something over here, but it is more interesting. Okay, we can have more details on this canister, and let's get into it. I'm actually going to talk about how to get this shape in the helpful tools video, so let's come back to that. But I want to show you guys these little guys, these little handles, I think, like these little buttony things. I think what we're looking at over there is the adherence of the handle. Okay, so I'm moving that and I'm putting, let me flip it, and then I can make the second one. Let's fill this in with white. Let's fill this in with black. Let's fill this in with black. Great. Something that I think could be better here is I think that kind of like how we have this line over here, we need a similar line over here. I'm also going to make that go down. And I also want this line to be obscured by that shape. Something to note is when you're making the shapes, only the topmost shape needs to be the most accurate. Like this one doesn't need to have the roundedness because it's being covered by this shape. Okay, but I do think that we need a white line over here to give us an indication. And this is what I mean by the abstraction versus details. This is more abstract because it doesn't have the highlight line, but the highlight line could make it more interesting. So I'm going to make that highlight line. We can make it on the shape itself like this, or we can do what we have here, which is having a second line. And that's what I'm going to do. Let's take the stroke away. We're going to use the direct selection tool to hit this middle point. Control C, Control V, swappery do, make this white, and then V to get the direct selection tool, and then we can put this into place as such. Now I'm going to make the stroke bigger, and I'm also going to change the profile of the line. There we go. So this is how you would break down the big shapes into smaller shapes. We're going to talk about the detail on the top here when I discuss the Pathfinder panel, and we're going to talk about some other cool stuff when we get to the handle.